No one notices this incredible exotic garden because it's not actually on the map. Only the salt mine, which owns the land that the garden's on and created the garden, is on the map.
What I particularly liked about this garden is that it's not a conventional garden, like a garden with beds. It's much more like a curated landscape. And what I love about it is that it gives a window into a lot of the native plants in Okinawa and also the commonly seen plants in Okinawa. So very small, although it's a very small area, it's really given us a big insight into the Okinawan landscape.
I only chanced upon the garden because I was visiting the salt mine because I'm quite interested in things of that nature, and I noticed a couple of staircases, two unassuming staircases up quite a steep bank, and I decided to follow one of them, and just a few steps into the overhanging branches, then I stumbled across a shrine of sorts. It drew me in. Having done some research since then, I've found out that the shrine is one of the Ryukyu people's power points. Now, there's various power points located around the island, and obviously I don't mean Microsoft PowerPoints. These are little shrines where people go to pray. They are meant to have restorative qualities, so if people feel like they need some restoration and rejuvenating, then this is one of the places that they Okinawa Island. I got drawn in, and then I turned around and I was like, oh my god, actually that's a really, really nice viewpoint that's been created. Now, bear in mind, there's no focal point because it's actually just the car park, but I love the way the plants are framing the shot. And in fact, the whole garden is built to frame certain viewpoints, not the car park, but certain viewpoints, because there's just absolutely glorious coastline and hidden beaches and views across the Pacific Ocean, like fantastic views.
Once you come past the shrine area with the big banyan, you follow the path around and trees start to overhang really, so that you're getting that feeling of being immersed and that whole forest bathing thing going on, which, as we know, is a very Japanese concept, but we all as humans benefit from it. One of the key plants used here is Pandanus utilis, also known as the common screw pine. This one isn't native to the Ryukyu Islands, of which Okinawa is one. This is native to the Mauritius region, but it's a very common sight here, and it was introduced and it's now been adopted as a very useful ornamental, and you see this all over the coastal paths. It's a very key plant in Okinawa. You'll notice obviously it's got this very, very spiky silhouette. Another really dramatic spiky plant here is the Cycads revoluta, also known as the sago palm, even though it's not actually a true palm. In the Cycad family, as you can probably guess by the first part of its name, this is native to Okinawa. And although it looks beautiful here, for the Japanese it has real sad connotations, because during the Battle of Okinawa, which you probably know was a really elongated battle of 3 months where over 200,000 people were killed, a lot of the Japanese civilians and soldiers, they were forced to survive on this plant. They were basically starving. So the plant is actually quite toxic, and the only way it's safe to eat is through a long process of drying it out and fermenting it. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't know how to prepare it properly, and they obviously didn't have the luxury of time, and they were poisoned, unfortunately, by the plants. There's a period called Sotetsu Jigoku, which literally translates as the Cycad Hell, because of an earlier period as well, following World War I, when the Okinawan people were forced to eat these cycads following the Great Depression in 1923. So it looks beautiful, but it's inextricably entwined with the brutality of Okinawa, you know, with its really sorry military past. In this shaded area as well, where the plants are arching in and creating a canopy, there's quite a lot of alocasia, Alocasia purpurea, possibly Alocasia X okinawensis, which is a naturally occurring hybrid. I love the big leaves because it is native here. It grows everywhere actually. It's along most of the roadsides. It's certainly a big part of the Okinawan landscape. You probably will have spotted the Calicarpa japonica, which is another native here, which we know is the beauty berry, and it's a very popular common plant in the UK certainly. When you come out from the canopied bit into the more open space, you've got a big area where there's the viewpoint and there's some rock. I mean, you might notice the rock looks quite pitted, which suggests it's probably a limestone weathered by the rain. And there's quite a lot of limestone caves actually in Okinawa, which it's possible to visit, which is quite exciting if you're into geology like I am. But in the more open spaces, you can see quite a lot of the Miscanthus sinensis included here. Now, this is native to Japan as well, and it tends to grow taller here because of the extra warmth in Okinawa, which is closer to the equator than mainland Japan, and it doesn't fully die back over winter for the same reason. Yeah, if you're driving around or if you're hiking, you can spot this in the mountain areas. You know, it's grown quite well in disturbed rocky places. Looks really nice here, catching the sun. So this nice red plant here that you can see is Cordyline fruticosa, also known as the tea plant, another native to the Ryukyu Islands, but also the Pacific in general, and it's come across from Polynesia. I think it looks really nice breaking up the green to get this quite striking bright red tall plant in there. So yeah, they've got a few swathes of this, definitely to me adding to the decorativeness and the interest of the garden as a whole. Then we've got the Farfugium japonicum. Don't get me started on the Farfugium, I literally love it. I'm going to do a video just on that actually, because I've seen so much of it here and I can tell I've been quite influenced. I'm going to go quite big on that in my own garden as well. Loving it for the glossy leaves. Winter flowering also. This video is shot in January. If you spot here, this quite striking looking plant, that's a papaya. I didn't know what it was at first because I'm not used to seeing them, but after I'd spotted my first one and did the old plant ID to find out what it was, I've seen them everywhere, but it's not native. It has been introduced, but it loves the conditions here and it's very commonly grown. It's grown for its fruit, which we might expect, but also in Okinawa they use unripe papaya as a green vegetable as well in stir fries and so on, which is a little bit more unusual. Looks really quite dramatic in the landscape. I'm quite a big fan now that I've seen it used in such a way. And then last but not least, we've got Kalanchoa pinnata, often called plant of life. I've seen on YouTube there's a lot of videos about the sheer number of spores, very easy to propagate. If you look at the leaf structure at the bottom, you can tell it's also like a horizontal spreader. It's been introduced, but it's incredibly well suited to the landscape and it's naturalised now, and you can see it grown in the rocky ground in the mountains, and I think it's really nice. I've not seen it elsewhere and it's very, very pretty. Another common name for it is the cathedral bells. So
it would be ridiculous to come to Okinawa specifically for this garden, but if you're in Okinawa and if you're a plants fan, which I'm assuming if you're watching this video then you are, it's well worth a little side trip to come and see. The salt factory is really interesting, the coastline is absolutely jaw-dropping, and this little garden just tops it off.